This is it, the baby's arrived, it's all set up, we're ready to go. So let's talk about lighting the fire. And what you're going to need is basically 3 different sizes of wood. Okay, nice big pieces which we can use later on when the fire's really going well and you can actually get a really good body in the fire. Intermediate pieces which we use to gradually build the oven up to temperature, and these little small pieces which we're going to use to light the fire. So nice dry hard wood, should have a moisture content of less than 20%. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with a nice small wax firelighter. Don't use paraffin. Paraffin will ultimately taint the floor and it could get into the flavour of your food. So we want these nice little wax ball firelighters in the middle, just like that. And then these nice small pieces, and we're going to create what I call a Jenga cage. So 2 pieces that way, okay, and then 2 pieces this way. And you can see that if you can get the camera in there. And just keep going, build it up nicely. And what this does, it gives us a nice, really good surface area of wood for the flame to catch onto when we finally light the fire. Okay, some nice small pieces. And we're good to go. All right, so we're ready to light the fire. Another little tip that's useful as we do this next stage, these slightly bigger pieces, have a couple just in the mouth of the oven so they're warming up and drying out as the fire goes. Okay, so we're ready to light the fire. Make sure you use a match with a long stick on it, because if you don't, there's always the risk you might burn yourself, and obviously we want safety first. Okay, so here we go. And that should be it. Hopefully one match and away we go. You can see immediately we've got some nice flame going. All that little surface area of those small pieces of wood is all taking. And what you will see when you first light the fire, you will get a little bit of smoke, because obviously at this stage there's no energy in the fire, so we are going to get a bit of smoke, and some of it might drift out the front. We should see some coming out the top, but that should only last for about 5 to 10 minutes. After that, because these ovens are so clean burning, and this is what the whole DEFRA thing's all about. Obviously this smoke, we don't want it in our atmosphere, we all want to live green, but that's why these ovens have been tested and been proven that they actually only produce 2 particles of soot per million in an hour. So they're really, really efficient, really clean burning. And that's what we've got to watch for. There's lots of myths around, about the whole DEFRA thing, that if your oven's portable, it doesn't need a DEFRA license, things like that. It's actually not true. The truth is, if you're burning solid fuel, you do need DEFRA. And let's not get too carried away with it, because obviously it's a rule, it's a law, yes, but actually it only applies if your neighbour complains and actually says they're not happy with the amount of smoke you're making. The council can come along and tell you to turn your oven off, and at worst case they can actually take your oven away. Obviously what none of us want is those kinds of things happening. So just be aware of that. When you buy your oven, try and find a DEFRA approved one. Okay, so what we're looking at now, the fire, you can see less than 15-30 seconds is already going really, really strong off one match. And now what we want to do is start to add 1 or 2 more little pieces of wood against the side of the fire, just to help us build the fire up. Okay, so very, very simple. But always remember, when you're building a fire, we want lots of air, so don't just pile everything on top of each other, because there'll be no air, no surface area. What we need is for the oxygen to flow in through the mouth of the oven. It will roll around inside the oven and it'll actually carry on burning. Okay, so now as you can see, the oven's been going for about, I don't know, 1 minute, 2 minutes. Fire's really, really healthy. We're looking at more pieces of wood on, and as you can see, there's a little bit of smoke at this stage, which should be expected. So here we go, just putting 1 or 2 more pieces on. Obviously we need to be careful because it's now starting to get nice and hot. Okay, and there we go. And then what we can do is, once the fire's getting really hot, we start to use our tools. So this is the first tool that we're going to talk about. This is the tool we call the pizza peel. Okay, so basically what we use this for is for actually lifting the logs onto the fire nice and safely without burning ourselves. Okay, really easy. Okay, we'll also use this same tool later when we want to turn our pizzas. So now what we're going to do is just leave the fire to burn for maybe 15-20 minutes, and what we're looking at here is the oven now has gone all black on the inside. Okay, and what's going to happen over those 15-20 minutes, it's going to warm up to the extent that we're going to get a nice little white spot in the centre of the top of the oven. And then at that point, that's the time when we can move the fire to one side or to the other side. It doesn't really matter, wherever you're most comfortable. Obviously I'm going to have the fire on this side today because I want to cook on that side because that's where I'm set up. But there's no problem if you want the fire on the other side, whatever works for you. What we do say is occasionally you might want to actually swap sides just because it evens out the burn in the oven. Obviously the ovens are really thick, they're really dense refractory clay, but you will get a nicer balance if once every 3 or 4 goes you just switch the fire onto the opposite side of the oven.